Hello and welcome to Set for Smash Moveset Concept, where we look at characters and see how they would be, well, set for Smash. We're back with Fighter Pass Season 2, and as you can see from our Echo concept video, if you haven't seen it yet, we've actually refurbished the series into a brand new design. But enough about that. Let's get started on talking about the first character of Season 2, Bub and Bob, and how they would work for Super Smash Bros. In case you forgot how this works, let's begin with their origins. Bub and Bob first debuted in the classic arcade series, Bubble Bobble. The game was made by Tethu, who you might know as the creators of Space Invaders. But considering a moveset for them is near impossible and would work much better as an assist trophy, the next best option was these lovable dinosaurs. The story is about Bubby and Bobby, two humans who were then turned into these lovable dinosaurs named Bub and Bob, who have to save their girlfriends from the evil Baron von Blubba. And to do so, they must traverse 100 levels and start bubbling characters and then bopping them. However, there's actually a lot more to the series than just Bubble Bobble. There's actually a couple of other spin-off games that they're well known for. For example, Rainbow Island, which actually has Bubby and Bobby in their human forms as they traverse an upward platforming adventure, and my personal favorite, Puzzle Bobble, or as it's known in the West, Bust-a-Move, which is a puzzle version of Bubble Bobble, which I adore in all honesty. In case you're wondering, the answer is yes. I will be using these as the idea for Bub and Bob's moveset, and how they would work in Super Smash Bros. Moving on to the first category of the series, details. Starting with the height of Bub and Bob, which is actually surprisingly easy. They're roughly just as small or a little taller than Kirby. I mean, they are tiny dinosaurs. While for their stats, well, they're really on the weak side for many different varieties, with their weight being fairly light, having an above average running speed, being one of the faster running characters, with also some pretty weak attack and defense. These guys can get KO'd pretty easily, just like a lot of small characters like Pikachu and Kirby. Their knockback is actually on the mid-weak side, so it's above average in most of their other attacks. I'll explain why when I get to their moveset. They also have 2 jumps and no other movement options. When entering stage, they're actually in a giant bubble and then it pops with them landing on the stage. The series symbol is obviously a bubble. For the taunts, the first one will have either Bub or Bob jump up and down, in happiness. For the second taunt, Bub and Bob will actually spin in a circle. This is actually somewhat too close to the victory animation to Puzzle Bobble. And for the third taunt, they'll actually wave at the camera and also give a wink, similar to actually one of the character arts from the game. For the color palettes, this is actually where I'm going to also explain this. Bub and Bob are actually separate characters, not a singular character like the Ice Climbers. So there are actually 4 different types of costumes for both Bub and Bob, with the first being their default designs, with Bub being green and Bob being blue. Color palette 3 will actually have Bub in a yellow color, referencing his girlfriend Peb in her dragon form. Color palette 4 will be Bob in a pink color pattern, referencing his girlfriend Pab. Color palette 5 will actually have Bub red, referencing another character named Boo Boo. Color palette 6 turns Bob purple, referencing another character named Grandpa. Color palette 7 will give Bub a black and red design, referencing the little evil dragon named Devilon. And for color palette 8, Bob will be colored gray. This is actually somewhat of a reference to the robot characters in the Bubble Bobble series. For the victory animations, an enemy from the Bubble Bobble series will actually turn into cake or candies, referencing the collectible items in the arcade game, and Bub and Bob will either see the items and then jump for joy. For the second victory animation, Bub and Bob will open a treasure chest that'll actually open up a bunch of treats raining down around them. And for the final victory animation, Bub or Bob will actually turn back into their human forms, Bubby and Bobby, and then do a victory pose, somewhat referencing the true ending of the game. And lastly, the victory theme of the series is the Bubble Bobble theme. Moving on, we'll be going to the standard attacks. First, of course, is always the jab. This one is surprisingly easy, as it's just either Bub and Bob using a 2-handed claw swipe. For the dash, Bub and Bob will roll into a ball hitting foes, somewhat referencing the water slide animation from the games. For the side tilt, Bub and Bob will actually bite the characters, referencing how they always blow bubbles, but it's also technically an attack in the Bubble Bobble arcade game. For the up tilt, Bub and Bob will swing a parasol upward. This might sound a little on the weird side, but some of their other games actually involve them using parasols in them. I'm not sure which one, I'll leave it right there in the video. For the down tilt, Bub and Bob will do a tail swipe. For the smash attacks, I decided to be a little more on the creative side. For the side smash, Bub and Bob will blow a bubble, but unlike the other bubbles I'll be talking about later in this moveset, this one actually stays to their body, like if they chewed some bubble gum. The longer you hold the side smash, the bigger the bubble grows, until it's maxed to the perfect size, which is roughly the same size as Bub and Bob. Eventually, the bubble will pop. With the up smash, Bub and Bob will blow a bubble above themselves. This move works exactly like the side smash. For the down smash, Bub and Bob will swing their tail in a full circle. For the standard aerial, Bub and Bob will do a standardized spin. For the forward aerial, Bub and Bob will do a forward claw swipe. For the back aerial, Bub and Bob will actually use the backs of their spines to hit their foes. For the up aerial, Bub and Bob will open a parasol above them. If you hold the A button, you'll be able to float longer up in the air, similar to Peach's up special. The down aerial is a foot stomp with their dragon feet, somewhat similar to Dr. Mario. For the grabbing attacks, Bub and Bob will hold characters with both claws and then do a headbutt for a pummel. For the forward throw, Bub and Bob throw characters using the parasol. For the back throw, they spin the parasol and then throw the foe in the opposite direction, somewhat similar to the parasol attack from the Kirby games. The up throw will have them juggling the foes with the parasol and then throwing them upward, while the down throw will have them stomping on the foes. Now that we're done with the standard attacks, let's also talk about the special attacks. And of course, we gotta start with the standard special and the most important move that Bub and Bob have. Their standard special is... fucking bubbles! Yes, they shoot bubbles. I mean, this makes the most sense out of any attack. If you press and hold the standard special, Bub and Bob will shoot an infinite amount of bubbles at the foes. However, 10 bubbles can stay on the stage at a time. If you reach to 11, the first one you blew will automatically pop, and so on and so forth. These also technically count as Bub and Bob's grab, as characters can get trapped inside the bubbles. However, to make sure it's not super broken, characters can get out of the bubbles pretty easily. When characters hit a bubble, their stock icon appears, and by hitting a certain button, they'll pop out of it. However, the more damage you accumulate over time, it'll be harder to get out of those bubbles. This is also why Bub and Bob are weaker characters. Their specialty is trapping foes. Not only that, the bubbles also have other unique traits, such as Bub and Bob can actually use these as platforms. However, if they're stuck on them too long, they'll eventually pop on their own. And not only that, projectiles and items can also get caught in bubbles too. This is actually where Bub and Bob's moveset shines the most. So based on different element types, the following bubble effects will happen. Of course, I already mentioned with characters, if you already catch a character, they'll just be trapped inside. However, if you have a fire-based attack, which is pretty often, then fire bubbles will appear. And if Bub and Bob hits these bubbles, it'll create a small flame which lands on the ground, setting fire to the area around it, which traps enemies in contact, similar to Ness's PK Fire. If a water-based element hits a bubble, it'll become a water bubble. This one's pretty iconic to the series, as if you hit this bubble, it'll shoot a wave and capture foes and push them away. It works just like it does in the arcade games, however it's pretty easy for Bub and Bob to get out of them easily. All they have to do is jump, while foes are stuck in flinching damage. Electric-based attacks will make a lightning bubble, and if you hit the bubble in a specific direction, a thunderbolt will actually shoot in that direction. No, it is still technically a projectile, so people can deflect them, so be very careful. However, other elements like darkness, light, and even explosives will make a unique bubble known as a boom bubble. Hitting this one will cause an explosion. This will affect anyone near any characters who use it. And to make sure it's not super confusing, all characters will have color-coded bubbles based off Bub and Bob's color patterns. So no, only the character who made the bubbles can pop their own bubbles. Not only that, the bubbles are also color-coded based on the type of color palette you chose for Bub and Bob. Green bubbles for Green Bub, blue bubbles for Blue Bob, etc, etc. The Kirby hat is of course the Dino suit, and Kirby will just have normal bubbles appear. For the side special, well, you get to definitely taste the rainbow with this attack as you literally throw rainbows. If you press and hold the side special, you can throw up to 3 rainbows together at once. However, you can only shoot them one at a time. But as an added bonus, they also do make a new platform. But just like the bubbles, they won't last long, and they do take damage when being hit. However, if you destroy the rainbows or summon a new one, the rainbows will shatter and fall under it. causing it to technically rain glass. This is great for edge guarding, however to make sure it's not super broken, it'll only cause light flinching. This move originated from Rainbow Islands. For Bub and Bob's up special, it'll trap them in their own bubble and they'll be sent flying, referencing how they always move from level to level in a giant bubble. A bubble will form around Bub and Bob and they can choose freely which direction they want to go. The bubble pop will have a hitbox, but it won't do a lot of knockback, or much damage. It specializes more in recovery. However, foes can actually pop the bubble if they aim precisely enough. And once when that bubble pops, Bub and Bob will go into free fall. And for the down special, it is the Bubble Launcher from Puzzle Bobble. By pressing down B and then holding the B button, you can actually choose the direction where you want your launcher to go. And when you let go of the B button, you'll actually send a giant bubble orb around the stage. It'll bounce off platforms, but if it hits foes, or even a wall, it'll automatically explode. However, as an added bonus, if you can actually aim it precise enough, you can even throw it at your own bubbles or opposing bubbles, causing a chain reaction explosion, somewhat similar to how Puzzle Bobble does a chain reaction to puzzle explosions. Making Bub and Bob very versatile in combinations of how to handle certain situations. If you want to make a good escape, trapping people with bubbles is good. If you want to make a lot of damage, making rainbows are the best solution. If you have a good chain of bubbles intertwined with one another with items and characters, a bubble launcher is the perfect situation. Each of the Bubble Bobble games is all about being versatile and quick during situations, and this is how I see Bub and Bob working in Super Smash Bros. And last but not least, for the final smash, Bub and Bob will shoot a giant bubble at the foe. If they either catch 1 to 3 characters, a cinematic will happen where they'll shoot 6 bubbles through a bubble launcher that are skyrocketing above, hitting the foes in the giant bubble. It'll make a massive explosion, and the words EXTEND will appear. This of course referencing the extend bubbles that you get, which is technically a knockout screen for the games, and gives you an easy life. I call this move Bubble Bobble Extend. Of all the characters that deserve to be in Smash, Crash Bandicoot and Arl are really good choices, but when it comes to retro representation and the classic arcade genre, I think Bub and Bob are the last big deal characters to put in the Smash series. Bubble Bobble is still a long-term running series, and even their spin-off series are just as popular as the original. Rainbow Islands maybe not that much. But if Smash Bros. Were to add another retro rep from a third-party series, I think Bub and Bob are the best choice to join the battle. And with that, we just set for Smash Bub and Bob. Thank you so much for watching, and if you like what you saw, just like and subscribe and ring the bell for notifications. And also check out some of my other content on my channel like Go No Go and Unlucky AngelStar. And if you want to follow up on news on other content, you can also check out my community page on my YouTube channel or even follow me on Twitter. And check out for the next Moveset concept.
Head to the go-go, baby! You want some? We'll come and get it!
Just go for it!
Hello and welcome to Set for Smash Moveset Concept, and today's character is someone you might be familiar with if you've been watching my channel. I'm of course referring to Viewtiful Joe. I would love to go into more of the origins of Joe, but if you want a full in-depth review of the series, I highly recommend you check out my video on the Viewtiful Joe series, known as the Viewtiful Joe Collection, where I actually reviewed every single Viewtiful Joe game that's out there. But other than that, Viewtiful Joe was an, average Joe who loves movies and taking him to dates with his girlfriend, Sylvia. However, after an evil organization known as the Jeddo Empire kidnaps Sylvia, Joe goes into movie land and becomes the hero of the cinematic universe, Viewtiful Joe. And he'll use the power of film to take on Smash Bros. As well. Beginning again with the details, Joe was surprisingly a short character, on par with the height of Mega Man. I decided to go with this because I've actually mentioned that Joe is somewhat of an homage to a Mega Man. You know, just replace a blaster with punching and kicking. He's also pretty light of a character, so every time he gets hit, he can get sent flying real easily. He is also surprisingly slow, but he can also get even slower, but I'll get to that when I'll get to that. And since his weight is surprisingly light, he's also got pretty weak defenses, so knocking him out is actually surprisingly easy. However, he makes up for this for having very good attack and very high quality knockback. He also has 2 high jumps and no other movement options. One of the biggest things about Viewtiful Joe is his VFX energy, and that's actually where his ability is going to be, his VFX energy. You can actually see a film bar above his stock icons. This is actually really important because Joe is probably going to be the first character in Smash to not actually have a shielding ability. You won't even be able to air dodge or just regular dodge. Instead, if you hold the L or R button, you'll actually activate his VFX energy, but both buttons do the same ability. His most iconic, slow. If you hold the button, Joe will actually move a lot slower, but it does cost some VFX energy. However, if you use it all up, you'll actually turn back into the regular version of Joe. Most of Joe's stats kind of stay the same with the exception of his defense, as he'll actually be more defenseless. Just like in the Viewtiful Joe games, this is mostly because you have to make sure to balance your action and your VFX energy. What's the most important thing about VFX energy, you're wondering? Well, this is actually a few of the things Joe can actually do with it. For starters, he'll of course slow down. However, it will also give his attacks more power and more knockback ability, making Joe one of the smallest heavy hitters in Super Smash Bros. But that's not all as well. If you hit a projectile in slow mode, Joe will actually hit it back at the opponents. When doing punches, it'll automatically do a straight forward attack, while kicks will actually send them upwards diagonally. Very faithful to the original version. But one of the biggest things you can do with this ability is auto dodge, just like in Viewtiful Joe. If you feel like you're about to get hit by a very powerful attack and you have no way of avoiding it, by hitting the slow mode button, you'll do an automatic dodge against the attack. Note, this is only for specific attacks, not for every single attack in Smash Bros. Basically, anything physical or projectile are capable of auto-dodging, but you're only capable of doing it twice before Joe is completely out of VFX energy. That way, of course, it's not super broken, and it technically counts as Joe's automatic dodge. I should also explain this too. Joe's slow ability does not affect the whole stage, it only affects a specific area. Somewhat similar to Bayoneta's Witch Time for specific characters. Only difference is the area surrounding Joe, in a cinematic, like widescreen, will actually be affected. So if some characters do get too close to Joe, they'll actually slow down as well. But Joe will still have the advantage when it comes to combat. This is also the best way I could actually work Joe's moveset into Smash Bros. To make it feel like you're playing Viewtiful Joe itself. Now, moving along, for his entrance, he literally just jumps into the stage, just like how he jumps into specific missions. The series symbol is the Flamin' Hot V for Viewtiful. The victory theme is the opening title card for every episode in Viewtiful Joe, aka the world levels. For his taunts, he'll do his iconic Henshin a Go-Go baby taunt. For his second taunt, he'll actually jump up in the air, which is actually a reference to his up dodge. And as a fun little nice trick, you can't even sweep the leg when characters actually hit Joe. And for his third taunt, he'll actually do another pose. For the palette colors, we'll of course see two different versions, one for Viewtiful Joe and one for Average Joe. Of course, each are in their default designs. Palette 2 will actually make Viewtiful Joe into a blue superhero, while regular Joe will actually have a red shirt. Sort of an inverted color situation, but it also references Captain Blue, Joe's heroic icon. The third color palette will have Viewtiful Joe in a teal color, while regular Joe will have a pink shirt, referencing Sylvia's design in Viewtiful Joe 2, both her hero form and her average form. Palette 4 will actually give Viewtiful Joe a black attire, while regular Joe will have a dark purple shirt. Of course, referencing the rival character of the series, and best character, AngelStar. Palette 5 will actually have Viewtiful Joe in a white hero's outfit, while regular Joe will have a black t-shirt, referencing the villain of Viewtiful Joe 2, Jet Black, who in actuality is actually Joe's father, Jet Black. Palette 6 is an all-green attire, and Palette 7 is an all-yellow attire. These are actually references to the multiplayer fighting game Viewtiful Joe Red Hot Rumble. And the 8th palette is a fun little reference. We'll have Viewtiful Joe in a dark red attire, while regular Joe is in a black-gray attire with white hair, referencing Dante from Devil May Cry. This is mostly because Viewtiful Joe was made by Hideki Kamiya, the same person behind the Devil May Cry series, and Dante has crossed over with Joe quite a few times. And this is probably the closest thing we'll get to Dante playable in Smash, next to, well, you know. For his victory animations, Joe will of course do his iconic pose and say,
Henshin a Go-Go, baby!
For his second victory animation, it'll actually be the same victory pose he uses when he defeats a boss in the Viewtiful Joe games. And for the final victory pose, Joe will actually slam down into the stage and then do a muscle flex, somewhat similar to the zoom ability. It'll even have the special zoom effect that'll actually appear when he's doing it. But as a fun little joke, if you keep it on too long, he'll actually revert back to regular Joe. Moving on to standard attacks, and of course we start with the jabs. For his jab, it's actually pretty easy, and also complicated. For a standard jab, he'll actually do a 1-2 punch, and if you press the button rapidly, he'll actually do a rapid punch, similar to how he actually does a rapid punch when in Mach speed mode in zoom mode. And since I mentioned that, this is actually one of the few moves that'll actually cost VFX energy. However, if you actually do this in slow mode, he'll actually do a 6-hit combo punch, similar to the Viewtiful Joe games. Of course costing VFX energy as well, but it'll also have a good chance of actually trapping foes and doing higher knockback. For the dash, I decided to actually go with the Red Hot Kick, one of Joe's most iconic attacks in the Viewtiful Joe series. This is mostly because I haven't really found a dash attack that Joe actually uses in the series. And if you can time the slow button perfectly, you can even do a Red Hot Blaze Kick, where the Red Hot Kick literally catches on fire. For the side tilt, he'll do an upward kick. For his up tilt, he'll do an uppercut. For his down tilt, he'll just do a slide. But as a cool little effect for the slide ability, Joe can actually slide off the edge of a stage and still be capable of doing his double jump. For the side smash, Joe will let out a powerful Viewtiful punch. For his up smash, he'll do the double up kick from Viewtiful Joe Double Trouble, where he'll spin his legs in a copter-like formation, somewhat similar to another iconic Capcom character. For his down smash, he'll slam his fist in the ground, and 2 thunk sounds will appear in between Joe. This is known as sound effects, which actually debuted in Viewtiful Joe Red Hot Rumble. And before anyone asks, I don't really know whether or not Red Hot Rumble is canon to the main Joe series, as it's interconnected with the Viewtiful Joe anime, which also exists. But I'll probably talk about that sometime in the future, in case you're wondering. For the standard aerial, Joe will do a default pose like most characters do in Super Smash Bros. For the forward aerial, Joe will do a forward punch. For the back aerial, Joe will do a back punch. The up aerial will have Joe do an upward kick. And of course, the down aerial is the Red Hot Kick. And just like in the dash, if you can time it perfectly, the Red Hot Kick will have a fire effect. For the grabs, this one was a little tricky because Joe doesn't really grab much in the series, so I had to be a little inventive. Joe grabs people with one hand and does a stomach punch. For the back throw, he'll use a move called the Yamarashi, an artful overarm throwing technique known in some forms of judo. Mostly because you actually do see Joe use this attack in Marvel vs. Capcom 3. However, for the forward throw, the up throw, and the down throw, they're actually moves inspired by Captain Falcon. I decided to go with this because, well, I can probably see Joe having some inspiration by design of Captain Falcon, even though Joe is somewhat inspired by Super Sentai. But I wouldn't be surprised if it would be easier to actually reuse the same moves that Falcon has used for the series, and Joe just thought he was cool and would like to copy him, just like how he was inspired by Captain Blue. Last but not least is the special attacks. And for the standard special, Joe will use one of his most iconic items, the V Boomerang. By holding the B button, Joe will actually charge a boomerang to come out of his forehead. By default, he'll actually throw it right in front of him, but in Marvel vs. Capcom 3, you can actually throw the boomerang in any direction you want to. You can throw it upwards, downwards, and diagonally, somewhat similar to Mega Man's Metal Blade. As I mentioned before, Joe is somewhat inspired by the Mega Man series. For his side special, he'll be using one of the most deadly weapons, the Shocking Pink. A pink explosive that Joe will actually kick in the air and you can hold for a while, but you can't hold it for too long or it'll explode, and Joe will kick it away after you let go. However, the explosion is surprisingly weak for a side special. However, if you actually are holding the slow button and charging the attack, the bomb will actually get somewhat bigger and cause a bigger explosion and a bigger hitbox. Just note this won't damage Joe at all, but it will affect opponents. The biggest problem though is trying to find the perfect timing to actually detonate the bomb when characters are close. For the up special, I don't really know the official name, but I decided to call it the Viewtiful Corkscrew. By choosing a direction, whether it's up left, up right, or just up, Joe will actually spin in a spiral and jump in a spiral, hitting foes above him. It's actually one of Joe's biggest downfalls, as it's probably one of the weakest recoveries in Smash Bros. Even if you use it slow, it'll only go slightly farther, but it still costs VFX energy. If you're on the ground, however, you can actually use the move twice, one upwards and one in any direction of your choice. But as an upside, Joe will not go into free fall when using this attack. For the down special, there's actually two unique versions. One is the Viewtiful Cyclone, where Joe literally does a cyclone spin. It'll be actually a Mach speed version, and if you get characters trapped in it, it'll actually get them in a massive combo. But of course, it burns through VFX energy. However, if you do this in the slow version, you'll actually be able to send characters flying very far. And as a fun little technique, you can even switch between Mach speed and slow version in between attacks, giving yourself some major combo damage. Though no, you can only do this attack when Joe is on the ground. When in the air, Joe will use Viewtiful Impact, where Joe will do a downward slam to the ground. It's actually different from the Red Hot Kick. For starters, Joe goes in a downward diagonal with that version, while Viewtiful Impact goes straight down. But if he lands on the ground, he can cause a temporary stunning effect and then send foes flying. But if you can time it perfectly, you can even spike characters. But you have to be very careful. The Viewtiful Impact, unlike the Red Hot Kick, you can't cancel until you perfectly land. So if you try to take down a foe, you're going down with them. For this final smash, Joe will actually do an uppercut, and anyone who gets trapped in it will be sent into a cinematic combo attack. Joe will actually go into Mach speed mode and doing rapid fire combo damage. He'll be going so fast, clones start appearing and attacking the foes. After some massive combos, the attack ends when Joe does a beautiful pose and the opponents get sent flying. Just like the special attack that actually exists within the game, this is called Viewtiful Forever. The odds of Viewtiful Joe getting in Smash are actually kind of slim in my honest opinion. When it comes to representation in Capcom, we already got quite a few characters already in the series. We've got the iconic fighting characters of Ryu and Ken, we've got Rathalos from Monster Hunter as a boss, and of course we have the Blue Bomber himself, Mega Man. And even if they added new characters from other games, I could still see other characters from the Capcom series making it, like Arthur, Amaterasu, and even Morrigan getting better representation, and getting a new character like Chun-Li, or even Proto Man and Bass. I feel like if Joe ever really got to join Smash Brothers, it'd only be through fan demand, as there hasn't been a game for Joe since, well, the 2000s. But maybe someday we'll probably see this lovable hero, Henshin a Go-Go, once again. And that's how we set for Smash Viewtiful Joe. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and ring the bell for notifications, and you can also check out some of my other content, like my new series called This Had a What. I actually talked about a series I'm familiar with, Tokyo Ghoul, and how there was a movie, or I talked about another Capcom series, Power Stone, and how it got an anime series. There'll also be a brand new series that'll be talking about Smash Brothers very soon. But until then, tune in for the next Moveset concept. Hello, welcome to Set for Smash Moveset Concept, and today's character is the Seedling Guardian of the Oasis, Tethu. Tethu appears in the 3DS exclusive Ever Oasis, which is a really great game, which you should probably go get. Tethu comes from a tribe of desert wanderers known as Seedlings. However, his breed is known as the Great Tree Seedling, making him a guardian of an oasis, and is also helped by the guardian spirit Esna, helping find a multitude of creatures find new homes in this lovely oasis, while protecting it from the evils of the chaos. And Tethu will protect that oasis from anyone who dares harm it, even from the characters of Smash Brothers. Starting with the details, Tethu is a fairly small character, on par with characters like Ness and Villager, though his weight is actually somewhat mid-heavy on account of there's not really any jumping in Ever Oasis. His speed is somewhat mid-slow on account of he has to traverse large deserts and has to keep up his stamina, having a surprisingly weak defense as seedlings are not really known for their defensive skills, but making up for it for having an above-average attack and fairly average knockback. He'll also have 2 below-average jumps and no other movement options. However, Tethu won't be the only character alone when joining the battle, as Tethu will have 2 unique abilities that are exclusive to him. For starters, one is Allies. This one's actually fairly similar to characters like Rosalina and Luma and the Ice Climbers, as Tethu will actually have one of 3 allies helping him in battle. And by holding Shield and B, just like with Inkling, you can switch between these 3 characters. Mira, a lizard person known as a Drak, who specializes in spear combat, who has some pretty great reach and is probably the most balanced character in the party. Levi, a Circa, which is a type of scorpion person with a massive mallet with great offense and defense, however having slow attacks and speed and a fairly weak jump. And lastly, Saul, a rabbit person known as Alagora, wielding twin daggers and specializes in rapid slashes, great speed and jumping ability. He is also the lightest and weakest of the party, but he does make up for it with great combo damage. However, just like Luma and Nana, you don't really properly control these characters and they only do specific attacks. In this case, they can only do standard base attacks, such as smash attacks, up airs, down airs, and tilts, but they are incapable of grabbing or even doing special attacks. Also, once when one of your allies gets KO'd, they'll be swapped out with a different ally until you have no more left. All characters will return after you lose a stock. However, the second ability also helps out with certain situations such as Tethu's weakness. And that is an exclusive ability, well, exclusive to Tethu, known as the Great Tree Breath. Tethu will have a meter above his damage icon, and the more damage he actually does to enemies, from either him or his partners, it'll actually grow over time. Once when it's fully charged, Tethu will automatically activate Great Tree Breath. This will actually greatly boost any attack and defense abilities for not just Tethu and his allies, but even characters who are part of team battles, as Ever Oasis is all about working together to traverse the deserts, making Tethu a fairly useful partner in team battle matches. For Tethu's entrance animation, he'll actually do a water teleportation, similar to the warping that you see when you want to go from place to place in Ever Oasis. The series symbol is, well, the Oasis. The tree is one of the most iconic parts of the Ever Oasis series, so it makes sense that the tree itself would be a symbol of this franchise. The victory theme for Ever Oasis is actually the intro theme from the 3DS. For Tethu's taunts, his first will actually have the beetle Kepri appear and Esna's face will actually show up in a ball of water real quick and then disappear. The second taunt will actually have Tethu waving, whether it is to the audience or even one of those cute little penguin characters made by the person who invented the chocobo. It's true, look it up. For his third taunt, he'll do a happy little dance, as if he's excited for something. Maybe a festival's coming up. For the color palettes, Tethu will actually be fairly unique as, well, being the avatar character of the series, Tethu actually has 2 different alterations. The first palette will be Tethu in his standard design, actually shown in the box art of Ever Oasis. Palette 2 is actually a female iteration known as Tethi. Something that the main game never really tells you is that you can actually choose which gender you want to be for a seedling type, though personally I actually would love to play as some of the other clans of the Ever Oasis series, mostly the Lagora, but that's besides the point. The rest of the color palettes are actually the skin types you can actually get for different seedlings in Ever Oasis, with Tethu being a blue colored seedling, Tethi being a red skin colored seedling, Tethu being a green colored seedling, Tethi being a purple colored seedling, and Tethu being a dark brown or potentially black colored seedling, and with Tethi being a dark blue or potentially dark purple colored seedling. I went with the color palettes from the customization option at the beginning of the game, mostly because there are a lot of seedlings in Ever Oasis, and it was really hard to find specific ones to actually use for the color palette choices. Not to mention there are customizable outfits in Ever Oasis, so those could actually be used as well for characters like Tethu and Tethi. For the victory animations, Tethu actually raises his scabbard in the air, and an ally of his stands right next to him doing a victory pose. Victory animation 2 actually shows Tethu throwing Dawadoos in the air, and next thing you know, a booth appears, referencing how Tethu always makes booths for new seedlings when they want to have a store open. And finally, the third victory animation, Tethu and Esna hold hands and use their powers to protect the Oasis. However, in this case, Tethu and Esna will actually do a fun little stance together, celebrating their victory, and a rainbow behind them appears. For the standard attacks, I decided to actually use weapons that are based off only seedling exclusive abilities. Though there are different items that are used for utensils and getting material, I decided to leave those out in this moveset, on account of some moves are only exclusive to some characters. But considering that Tethu is a great tree seedling, I decided to make it so that he's capable of using all the seedling based abilities, as he is capable of using weapons based off the seedling tribe. So starting with his jab, it's actually a 3-hit slash with his scabbard blade. For his dash, he'll actually do a jump slash, somewhat similar to Link's dash attack. For the side tilt, he'll summon a crossbow and fire it at a foe. This is a projectile, so it can be deflected. For his up tilt, he'll do an upward slash. For his down tilt, he'll actually summon a wand and then use a growing sprout in front of him, causing a plant to appear. For his side smash, he'll do a powerful forward slash that'll actually throw a beaming glow of light, which can also damage the foe. Sadly, it is also a projectile, so it can be deflected. For the up smash, Tethu will do a powerful uppercut. Sadly, this will only hit characters in front of Tethu, not behind him. But it is a powerful attack Tethu can use to KO foes. For his down smash, he'll swing his scabbard blade around him. For the aerial, Tethu will use a weapon known as a bola. For this case, Tethu will actually spin the bola around him and it'll return to him, somewhat similar to a boomerang. For his forward aerial, he'll actually throw the bola in front of him and it'll come right back to him. For his back aerial, he'll turn around and use his crossbow to shoot foes. It'll shoot a powerful blast, so it'll actually do some major damage. For the up aerial, Tethu will throw the bola upwards. It'll also come back down for him. For the down aerial, Tethu will do a downward slash. This has the ability to spike, but also self-destruct. For his grabs, pummels, and throws, Tethu will actually grab foes with 2 hands, and then pummel them using a headbutt. For the forward throw, he'll actually do a sword slash. For the back throw, he actually throws the characters over his head, hitting him with the giant root horns. For the up throw, he'll actually do a 2-handed throw upwards, somewhat similar to how Tethu throws Dawadoos. And for the down throw, as cruel as this sounds, Tethu will bury foes. Considering that Tethu is a seedling that are plant-based people who literally grow buildings from the ground, it makes sense that Tethu would bury his enemies, being part of the burying crew next to Banjo-Kazooie and King K. Rool. But just like most burying effects, the more damage you have, the harder it is to get out of the bury. Now time to move on to the special attacks. For Tethu's standard special is his most iconic trait of being the Great Tree Seedling, that being Green Gale. By pressing the B button, Tethu will actually throw a vortex of wind in front of the foe. However, there are actually 3 levels to the ability. Once fully charged, it'll become a powerful tornado that can go as far as 3/4 of the way to final destination. It'll also do some chip damage to the foe. The Kirby hat is Tethu's hat. For the rest of the special attacks, these are moves that Tethu can't really learn, but I wanted to keep these as a trait that he can use because he's a seedling. To start things off with his side special, it'll be Pellet. A bud will appear where Tethu once was, and then it'll shoot down a giant seed ball, or pellet in this case, and Tethu can actually choose between going left and right with this little ball. This actually works similar to Yoshi's side B, except it does have super armor, making it harder for characters to actually do damage to Tethu while in this attack. So a little more like Banjo's side B, and just like Banjo's, you can grab Tethu in this attack form. For Tethu's up special, it's the Paraflower. Tethu will sprout a bud, and then his seed form will fly in the air, with a little flower actually appearing above it, helping him gently float down. Just like with Pellet, Paraflower also has super armor in the seed, making it so Tethu isn't completely defenseless. But you can come out of the seed whenever you want, but Tethu will go into freefall. And finally, for his down special, it'll be Leaf Shield. Tethu will summon a giant leaf in front of him that'll protect him from both attacks and projectiles. Funnily enough, this isn't really a deflective counter. When characters hit the leaf shield, they actually get bounced back. And with projectiles, well, they get bounced back as well. However, leaf shield only works in front of Tethu, meaning if you hit Tethu from behind while he's using leaf shield, he'll take damage. For Tethu's final smash, Tethu will throw Dawadoos in the air. Anyone who gets hit by the Dawadoos will be sent into a cinematic. Next thing you know, the water spirit Esna appears and then transforms into her Guardian of the Oasis form and unleashes a powerful beam in front of the foe. For those who don't know why she takes on another form, this is actually an ability of hers that allows her to actually make the Oasis she makes far bigger. It's also used to protect the seedlings from the evil that is the Chaos. So I call this final smash Esna, Water Spirit of the Oasis. This is usually the part where I give my thoughts on whether or not Tethu has a high chance of being in Smash or not. But sadly, we already got our last character in Smash Bros. Ultimate, and I'm really grateful it is Sora. And with Smash Ultimate's roster completed, all I gotta say is, thank you Sakurai for making an amazing game. And I doubt we're gonna get a crossover like this ever again. And with that, we have Set for Smash, Tethu from Ever Oasis. Thanks for watching, and if you want to check out some of my other content, make sure to subscribe and ring the bell for notifications. Check out some of my other content like my game reviews, anime first impressions, go no go, and more on my channel. Even sharing this video to friends is also a great way to help out this channel grow. So until next time, check out our next Moveset concept.
Bite on this! Now, Melia! Finish him!
Hello and welcome to Set for Smash Moveset Concept, and today we'll be making a moveset concept for the character Melia. Melia comes from the game Xenoblade Chronicles, which was originally on the Nintendo Wii. Melia is the princess of the race of the High Entia, though she's actually half Hom as well, the same species that Shulk is from. I won't go through her entire story, but I'll let you know that in the original Xenoblade Chronicles, she didn't really have an epilogue of her own. But that changed recently with Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, which gave her a bonus story in Future Connected. Melia is a mage-like character who uses elements to boost the stats of her allies as well as herself. Though this isn't my first time with a moveset concept with a character from Xenoblade Chronicles, I was genuinely surprised a lot of the things I did for Rex and Pyra actually did get into Super Smash Bros. So let's see if I can get 2 for 2 if Melia ever joins the battle. So let's begin with the details. Canonically, her height is 5'1", which is a little shorter than Shulk, so of course her height measurements would be on par with Shulk's. Melia's stats, however, will tend to vary from time to time, but by default she is a mid-light character with slow speed, weak attack, weak defense, weak knockback, and 2 below average jumps and no other movement options. Her entrance animation is somewhat similar to Shulk's, except she'll have her staff slamming down with her and then putting it away. The series symbol, of course, is the symbol of the Monado. Her victory theme is similar to Shulk's. For her taunts, Melia will raise her staff preparing for battle, and she'll say,
Witness my power!
For her second taunt, she'll summon her staff again, and then she'll do a fighting stance, similar to her actual collectible figurine. A somewhat of a reference to the fact that Pyra and Mithra's spirits are actual references to their figurine model, which by the way, I actually have one. For her third taunt, she takes a bow, and then raises back up, a reference to one of her idol animations. For her color palettes, her first one will be her default design, which is the Colony 1 outfit. Palette 2 will actually be another outfit entirely based off Future Connected, her Anemone Style 1 outfit. Color palette 3 will be her Colony 2 costume. Color palette 4 will be Anemone Style 2. Palette 5 will be Colony Style 3. Palette 6 will be Anemone Style 3. Palette 7 will be Colony Style 4. For her final color palette, it'll be her Colony 1 design again. This time she'll be wearing Tyria's mask. This mask has a story element that I would go into more detail, but again, I want to be as spoiler-free as possible. For her victory animations, she'll actually do a pose while holding her wings, and then she'll state,
Now I see there is strength in unity.
For her second victory animation, she twirls her staff and does a victory pose. And for her final victory animation, she goes down on one knee, holds her hands together, and prays. As a bonus, both Shulk and Melia will actually have unique conversations after beating one another, referencing the unique bond these two have. Again, if you want more detail, I highly recommend playing the game. Moving on to her standard attacks. For her jab, she'll do a one-handed slap and then do a 1-2 slash with her staff. The slap is actually a reference to when she first met Shulk, as she literally slapped him in the face. And hitting characters with her staff is a common thing that she'll be using throughout most of her moveset. For her dash, she'll do an airborne jump kick but then land on her bottom. This is a reference to both her idle animation, as well as a move that she can use known as Starlight Kick, but I'm getting ahead of myself. For her side tilt, she'll actually thrust her staff, similar to the move Spear Break. For her up tilt, she'll actually swing the staff upwards in a crescent slash, similar to Isabelle's up tilt. Her down tilt will be a leg sweep. For her side smash, she'll raise out her palm in front of her and magical energy will come out. This is actually a thing she can kind of do in-game, but it's also a reference to one of her arts. For her up smash, she raises her staff in the air and magical energy will come out of it. For her down smash, she'll slam her staff into the ground and then an elemental energy will burst around her. For her aerial, she'll do a standard air kick, similar to what most characters in Smash can do. For her forward aerial, she'll do an upward slash, similar to the pose shown in her collectible figurine. For her back aerial, she'll do a powerful back kick. For the up aerial, she'll point her staff upward, and for her down aerial, she'll do a downward heel kick. Though the tip of her foot does have a spiking point, it is really hard to hit. It's actually surprisingly small. For her grabs, she'll actually use the art Shadow Stitch and bind her foes temporarily. When pummeling, the stitches will actually do the damage. For most of her throws, she'll actually throw all of her characters using magic. Forward, behind, upward, and of course down, and they bounce upwards. Somewhat similar to Lady Palutena. Next up is the special attacks. Just may say, her standard special is extremely complicated, as her standard special is called Summon. To those who have not played Xenoblade Chronicles or used Melia in their party whatsoever, Melia is capable of summoning 3 ether spheres to add a slight stat boost to both herself and her allies. So just like in Smash Bros, you'll be able to summon different elements to actually boost Melia's stats in a certain way. It works exactly like Shulk's Monado arts. The only difference is the following. Though Shulk's Monado arts gave him a massive stat boost, Melia's would only give half as much, as she's only capable of summoning 3 different elemental types, though she's only capable of doing specific stat boosts. And of course, there is a recharge after using them, so I'm going to go into detail on which elemental does what. First is the element Fire, or Summon Flare. Being the elemental color of red, this will boost Melia's smash attack, aka her knockback ability. Her second element, Summon Aqua, actually isn't a stat booster, but a recovery option. Summon Aqua will heal a % of your health every second, but just like with the Monado art, it only lasts a very little amount of time, so use it wisely. It's also the only one that takes the longest time to regenerate. Summon Bolt will boost Melia's attack power, working exactly like Shulk's Buster. Summon Wind will boost Melia's jumping ability. Summon Earth will actually boost her defense. Summon Ice will boost her running speed. And lastly is Summon Copy. This one is probably the most useful, especially if you're trying to boost specific attacks, as Summon Copy will actually let you summon the previously used element that you used, meaning you can actually double stack on different elements. This would actually give Melia the double stat boost on par with Shulk, making her somewhat of a powerhouse, a highly defensive character. However, this also means you can also boost other types of stats that you think are more useful. The Kirby hat is Melia's hat with her little wings. For her side special, this is also a pretty important one, as it's very useful if you have elements. But if you have no elements used, it'll be Spear Break, where Melia will thrust her staff in front of her foes. It has above average knockback, but it's more of a keep away tool in case you need more time to actually summon an element. But it's actually more useful if you have an element, as it'll become Elemental Discharge, where you shoot one of the elements you summoned and explodes based off the elemental type. Just know this, if you use Elemental Discharge, you will automatically revert back to your normal stats based off the specific element you threw, and it'll always be the first element you summoned and then going through a cycle. So if you used fire, ice, then water, it'll go fire first, then ice, then water. But if you use Elemental Discharge, it'll actually recover the element that you used previously. So of course, I will explain the elements and how they work. So with a Flare Discharge, she'll actually throw a powerful Explosion Fireball. This attack has the most knockback. Aqua Discharge will shoot a projectile of powerful current of waves. This actually has a higher chance of trapping foes. Bolt Discharge will shoot a massive thunderbolt around the area. This attack will send enemies straight upwards, which is great for juggling foes. Wind Discharge will summon a Cyclone Explosion, which has a wind knockback ability. Even though this attack may miss for some characters, it's also really great for edge guarding. Earth Discharge will make a Terra Explosion, which will either bury or worse, spike your opponents. Another great edge guarding tool, but to make up for it being overpowered, it is the slowest moving projectile. And finally, Ice Discharge, where you'll shoot an explosion of ice that will freeze opponents. Note these are projectiles and they can be deflected back at Melia, so please be careful. For her up special, it's Starlight Kick. Melia will do an upward diagonal jump kick. somewhat of a curved version of Bayonetta's side special in a way. However, depending on the elemental type, it will also boost either your jumping, your damage, or your knockback. As even though this is great for recovery, it is probably the weakest thing about Melia. Even if you summon Wind and Copy, it's still not great for recovery. And finally, her down special, Reflection. Melia will summon a barrier around her that can deflect projectiles even while moving. There will be a total of 6 shields around Melia's body entirely, but depending on how powerful the projectile or the attack is, the reflection could easily be deactivated. You can of course deactivate it yourself to have a faster recharge, or you can use it to protect yourself from high knockback attacks. Melia's final smash is Union Strike. Melia will shoot 2 elemental discharges, and anyone hit will be entered in a cinematic, where Pawn Specters will appear with a Petrix flying, dropping explosions on enemies, and a giant Gogol will enter the fray. And as it ends, a smoke screen rises in the background as Melia appears with the Pawn Specters in the forefront. Of course, the Union attack is based off the Union attacks from Future Connected. And with that, we have set for Smash Melia. Thanks for watching, and if you liked what you saw, be sure to subscribe and ring the bell for notifications. I make a variety of content on my channel, so be sure to check out some of my other stuff, with my favorite video being the retrospective on Mamoru Hosoda's work. This is officially the 9th character I've done a moveset concept for, meaning that the 10th character will be the season finale. So, let's tune in on the next moveset concept. Hello and welcome to Set for Smash Moveset Concept. And even though it looked like I promised a different character, honestly I couldn't miss this opportunity to do a good April Fool's joke, and also I can see a lot of potential in Bidoof. Yes, this is actually happening. I know a lot of people were really excited to see the Survey Corps trainer, but I needed a lot more time to actually think of a proper way to really utilize a trainer and make him different from other trainers in Smash Brothers. I'll think about doing Survey Corps trainer sometime in the future, just not today. But with that said, let's see whether or not this little plump mouse has what it takes to join the battle. Bidoof, the plump mouse Pokemon. Pokedex entry number 399. Type Normal. Bidoof was not really what you call the most popular Pokemon. I don't know why, but Bidoof popularity has skyrocketed over the years, with last year being a major dedication to the lovable Pokemon for the 25th anniversary. Oh, and hey, look at that. This is also the same year when they did that Bidoof Rickroll thing. Other than that, let's see whether or not this plump mouse has what it takes to take on the Electric Mouse and other characters in Smash Brothers. Beginning in the details of Bidoof, he's actually surprisingly small. That's actually no real surprise, being on the heights compared to both Kirby and Pikachu. He's a mid-light character with a slightly above average speed, with below average attack and a above average defense, average knockback, and 2 slightly below average jumps. He's also capable of crawling. When entering a stage, he'll actually come out of the grass just like how normal Pokemon do from the wild. Obviously, the Pokeball will be the series symbol, with the Pokemon theme being the victory theme. For Bidoof's taunts, his first will have him stand on his hind legs and then go back down, similar to his animation for when you see him in Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. For his second taunt, he turns his head around looking at the stage, hopefully not trying to get caught from the Pokemon trainer hiding in the background. And for his down taunt, he shakes his itty-witty tail. For his color palettes, his first will of course be his default design. Palette 2 is actually a pink version, referencing the Pokemon of Space, Palkia. Palette 3 is a blue color, referencing the Pokemon of Time, Dialga. Palette 4 is a black design, referencing Giratina. Palette 5 is a white design, based off Arceus. Palette 6 is a red design, based off Heatran. Palette 7 is purple, based on some of the colors of Cresselia. And Palette 8 is his yellow shiny form. For his victory animations, Bidoof will just walk around and then look at the camera. For his second victory animation, he'll actually find a berry and start eating it with his big teeth. And for his final victory animation, he'll do a cute little dance based off the one from the YouTube video of last year. Sadly, there won't be any Rickroll copyrighted music, because, you know, copyright's a butt. For the standard attacks, his jab will be a headbutt similar to Pikachu's. For his dash, he'll actually do another headbutt similar to Pikachu. For his side tilt, he'll actually turn around and kick some mud into the foe, referencing the move Mud Slap. For his up tilt, he raises his head up, and the tip of his tooth actually does the damage. For the down tilt, he'll actually swipe his small little tail. Fun fact, Bidoof can't actually learn Tail Whip, but he can learn Iron Tail and Aqua Tail. For his side smash, he'll let out a giant bite, referencing the move Crunch. For his up smash, he'll do a powerful headbutt up in the air, as Bidoofs are known to learn both Headbutt and Skull Bash. For his down smash, he'll actually do a little booty shake referencing Iron Tail or Aqua Tail. It's also really cute. For his standard aerial, he'll spin into a ball, referencing the move Defense Curl. For his forward aerial, he'll actually swipe his paws in front of him in a rapid slash, referencing the move Fury Swipes. His back air is exactly like Pikachu's, and his up air, he'll actually try doing an upward bite. For his grabbing animations, he'll use his two front paws to actually grab foes, and then start biting them with his buck teeth. For his forward throw, he'll headbutt into the foe. For his back throw, it's exactly like Pikachu's. For his up throw, just like Pikachu. And for his down throw, he'll slam his butt onto him, just like Pikachu. Before we move on to the special attacks, I should let you know there are a lot of moves that are inspired by Pikachu. That's because Bidoof is somewhat of a semi-clone of not just Pikachu, but other Pokemon. You'll probably see why soon enough. For Bidoof's special attacks, Bidoof will use one of the most iconic HMs in Pokemon history, and the big reason why most people use Bidoof in Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. His standard special is Cut. Bidoof will do a charging slash, and anyone who gets caught will be sent upwards. By pressing and holding the B button, Bidoof will travel farther and hit stronger. For the Kirby hat, Kirby will wear a Bidoof hat with both a Bidoof head and Bidoof tail. For Bidoof's side special, it's the resurrection of another powerful attack, Rock Smash. This move will work exactly like Charizard's old attack. For those who don't remember, Charizard used to have a powerful side special back in the Brawl era known as Rock Smash, but it did get kinda nerfed in the Wii U and 3DS version, and became his down special. Even though Charizard no longer has this move, I decided it'd be best to give it to a Pokemon that actually knew the attack. And ironically enough, Bidoof actually can learn this attack. For his up special, it's Super Power. Bidoof will charge a powerful dash in any direction of choice. Think of a powerful version of Pikachu's Quick Attack. And lastly, Bidoof's down special. It'll be Rollout. And yes, this move does work exactly like Jigglypuff's Rollout, but there is a twist. Bidoof can actually charge and roll around, and the longer you charge it, Bidoof will actually get covered in rubble, as Rollout is a rock-type move. Just note, the longer you charge it, the harder it is to control. But unlike Jigglypuff's, this is a stronger variation, as if any foe who gets hit by it will be buried. As you can probably see, Bidoof is a concoction of different movesets made by other Pokemon. This was actually a reference to how Bidoof was constantly used in the Pokemon games, as Bidoof was nothing more than an HM slave, as both him and his evolution, Bibarel, were only used for nothing more than to actually navigate through the entire Sinnoh region. So you can kinda say Bidoof has a way to handle any situation it happens to run into, whether it being giving heavy damage with moves like Superpower, Rollout, and Rock Smash, or to keep some distance with moves like Cut. It's unsure whether or not Bidoof would be capable of going pro, but it's trying its best to actually be a part of the battle. For Bidoof's final smash, I call it Bidoof Biting Barrage. Bidoof will actually do a long dash, and anyone who gets hit will be entered into a cinematic, where you see an army of Bidoofs gather around the foe, and then start fighting him in a cartoon pile of smoke, ending with the Bidoof you're playing as using the move Rollout, sending your opponent flying. This final smash can only catch one person. And with that, we have Set for Smash Bidoof. Yeah, kind of a weird way to end this season's Fighter Pass. Even though this is the end of the second Fighter Pass number 3 is already in development, and the first fighter of said Fighter Pass will be released in late summer, early fall. And here's a fun little catch. We're gonna let you guys decide which character gets to go first. I left a poll in my community tab to let you guys choose who you want to see first in Fighter Pass number 3. I'm not gonna give away who the characters are, but I will give them really fun color code names. So, who would you like to see join the battle? Orange Cyclone, Purple Maiden, Red Alchemist, Dark Blue Kaboom, or Green Light? If you have an idea who you think these characters are, leave them down in the comments below. Thank you guys for watching, and tune in to the next Moveset Concept.